Hello and welcome to the monthly Journal of Expressive Writing, featured author and open mic. I'm Kelly Dumar. I'm your producer and host. And tonight it is April 13th, Wednesday, 2022. And our featured author guest is U-Meleni Mhlaba-Adebo. And we're really excited to have her here to read tonight from Soul Psalms and other work that she has, and to hear our readers in the open mic. There are approximately 15 or 16 of you, and that's what's going to unfold here tonight. The chat room is open. Please feel free to comment on any particular lines of a poem or a piece of writing that you appreciate. Say your appreciative things. The rest of the audience, it really matters. And make sure to remember to read the chat to get the good words that people are saying about you. If you do have a question for U-Meleni that comes up while she's reading, I will be asking her, posing a few questions after her reading and taking some comments through the chat. So I would love it if you would post a question if there's something about her writing or her creative process that you want to know. Okay, so introducing yourselves in the chat room is really terrific. I'm going to just take a minute now and introduce you to our founder and editor of the Journal of Expressive Writing, Jen Minotti, and ask her to say a quick hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much, Kelly, and thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I just want to very briefly thank Kelly, our producer and host of the Journal's Open Mic, and U-Meleni Mhlaba-Adebo, who is our featured poet, who's going to be speaking tonight, and to the 15 writers who are also going to read their writing tonight. I met U-Meleni through Mass Poetry, and I'm so glad that I did, because I've been so enjoying her written and spoken word poetry ever since. So it's just such a huge honor and privilege to have her here with us tonight, especially this month of April as we celebrate National Poetry Month. Yes, this is just such a thrill for me. I love publishing the Journal of Expressive Writing, and I love having the opportunity to publish people's voices. And so the open mic is especially exciting to me, because in the open mic, we get to actually hear people's words as they come alive off the page. And I just love that so much, and can't thank Kelly enough for bringing that to the journal. So thank you to U-Meleni for being with us tonight, to our 15 or so readers who are going to share their work with us, and most importantly to all of you who are very appreciative listeners and who have given up their time tonight to be with us. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Did you happen to notice whether or not Katerina had come in?
I don't see her.
Okay, no worries. So you'll keep your eye on the chat. And then just a reminder, please make sure your name in your little Hollywood square matches your chat. And then the other thing, if you would please make sure and mute and stay muted, that would be wonderful as well. All right, I like to open our time in this wonderful community together with a poem that I hope really speaks to our shared experience of community and what our emotional needs are in this time and place of this troubled and beautiful world that we're in. And we really are a community in this room that we're gathering in tonight. And I'm very grateful that we're all here together to share the feeling of paying attention to truth and beauty together. I want to read a poem by Gregory Orr. It's officially untitled, but it's called, from its first line, "This is what was bequeathed to us." This is what was bequeathed us, this earth the beloved left, and leaving left to us. No other world but this one, willows and the river and the factory with its black smokestacks. No other shore, only this bank on which the living gather. No meaning but what we find here. No purpose but what we make. That and the beloved's clear instructions. Turn me into song. Sing me awake. Okay, so that's a poem by Gregory Orr. I'll put the title and reference eventually into the chat room. But I want to welcome our special guest tonight and her program, which I am calling How to Become Amazing. The Journal of Expressive Writing monthly featured author is poet, storyteller, singer, educator, U-Meleni Mhlaba-Adebo. And I trust that U-Meleni will deliver for us a lesson in writing as healing. In fact, she has said writing is medicine. Mental wellness is a human right, and art can heal. And more than that, she will bring us an engagement with her life story of how to become amazing. U-Meleni has said, I live in between two worlds, three tribes, two continents, belonging and not belonging, mahogany dipped in mazanja juices. You see, the elders always told me someday I would be amazing. Poet, storyteller, singer, educator, and creative facilitator, U-Meleni is a Zimbabwean American who has performed internationally in Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, Portugal, and Ireland. She's fiercely passionate about using her voice for women's empowerment, wellness, diversity, and inclusion, and the exploration of translation, or what she calls hyphenated identities, through her work. She holds a graduate degree in education from Lesley University in multicultural education and theater, and a bachelor's degree in social psychology from UMass Boston. She's an accomplished and dedicated educator with over 10 years of experience facilitating holistic health and wellness education promotion, incorporating the arts, including spoken word, hip hop and film, violence prevention, empowerment and life skills, and social emotional well-being and long-term behavior change in youth and adults. About her book that she's going to be reading from tonight, Soul Psalms. Would you hold that up, U-Meleni? There you go, Soul Psalms, there's a picture of it. Her recent poetry collection was described by David Updike as written in a fearless female voice, tempered with optimism and healing possibilities of love. As described by her publisher, She Writes Press, Soul Psalms is filled with lyrical and vivid imagery that takes you on an emotional journey toward finding self, exploring themes of family, love, body image, acceptance, and belonging. U-Meleni's words flow melodically and powerfully, bringing readers to a place of peace. The themes in Soul Psalms may be personal, but they appeal to a universal pull, the desire to become, well, amazing. Thank you for being here tonight with us, U-Meleni. I'm going to turn this over to you, and welcome.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction. I was like, who is that? You know, that sounds an interesting person. But thank you everybody for being here. Please make sure that you let me know time-wise, because I've been rather naughty. I haven't practiced to see how much time I'm doing. So thank you for being here. I am going to be sharing some pieces from this book, Soul Psalms. The first selection is going to be a poem called Beautiful Black Women. And this is really dedicated to the beautiful Black women who are, you know, taking charge right now. This is dedicated to Ketanji Brown and to Ayanna Presley and to Kamala and all of the beautiful Black women. So. Batuba high, wear my hair, Batuba high, wear my hair, Batuba high, wear my hair like crown, I wear my hair, Batuba high, wear my hair, Batuba high, wear my hair, Batuba high, wear my hair like a crown, I wear my hair like a crown, I wear my hair. Beautiful Black woman, gifted and strong, worthy of all praise, wisdom that rights wrongs. You are the anthem to every song. You lift generations, steady feeble hands with grace, with your head held high, facing ignorance with pride, shoot, they step aside. Illuminated by your strength, your dignity, and your style, your values you defend, your talents a unique blend. A beautiful black woman, gifted and strong, worthy of all praise, wisdom that rights wrongs, you are the anthem to every song. So I wanted to kick off that with celebrating women. I wrote this piece for Women's History Month some years ago, and I was thinking about all the incredible women that have shaped me. And so I thought, what a good way to start this particular experience. So I'm going to be sharing poems around love, around culture, love in all its manifestations. And to that end, earlier Kelly was mentioning, I said I live in between two worlds and hyphenated identity. And so I want to share, this is a new piece in a book I'm working on called Homecoming. And it's in 5 scenes. So I haven't shared this too many times. So I hope you'll, indulge me. So paradox, scene 1. I was raised with 2 contradictions. I could be both anything on my own and nothing without a man. A post-colonial child, I enjoyed the deliciousness of living in a country that was now mine, ours, a country with people who looked like me, leading, after prying the keys of the kingdom from its imperial masters. Scene 2. Growing up, girl, there seemed to be cultural tests I needed to pass. I had no idea what I should be studying. Scene 3. I have always been immigrant, othered. Even in my own land, what does motherland even really mean? Is it first soil? I learned mother tongue from my mother's tongue, took me back home during the war, front row seat to a revolution, and at night, I would hear the thud of soldiers' gumboots at my grandmother's farm. Gunshot sounds like 4th of July fireworks I would experience decades later in Boston. Scene 4. I never really knew my parents together. I was too young, when they broke ranks. They have each offered me bits and pieces of their history, a jigsaw of sorts. I'm guessing they must have loved each other. No one talks about love in my culture. Perhaps love is a Western construct, and for us, good Africans, we have something deeper, unnamed, a necessary tolerance so the tribe can grow, an heir can be born. But I wasn't an heir. Scene 5. I was told often by aunties I wasn't sure were related to me, that I should eat my books, swallow my pride, make sure to eat because no one marries a skinny girl. I was taught to cook sadza on the fire in the thatched hut at Mbuya's house. I hated the sting of soot in my eyes, or how my cousins had a firmer grip on the wooden stick when they were cooking. Love without touching, mother without giving birth, feed a nation without dirtying your hands. You gotta keep supple for a man to choose you. God only loves clean women. Washed out village ideas in the river. Oil skin daily. Wash your hair with herbs. Be sweet like mangoes. Speak and be silent on your knees. Be intelligent, but not too brilliant to block out a man's sun rays. Scene 6. I insisted on living loudly. Came back to America when I grew up, found my own earth. Chose for myself in whose arms I would crumble and still be queen. His hands bomb fighting deepens that circle our feet. Strong like Olumo rock, he carries Yoruba blood in his veins. Skin soiled by different suns, it's been 96, 3,060 hours that we've been together, and I still smile. I still smile, and I say yes 1,000,000 times when he asks me in the morning. So how we feeling? How we feeling? We good? Thumbs up? You with me? I so wish I could be with you in person, but I appreciate the energy, and I'm seeing all the comments. Thank you so much. So I want to switch gears into talking about love for community. In the beginning, we were all talking about where people are, and it's wonderful to see the array of folks and where people are. So I wanted to share my love letter to Boston/Dorchester. And this piece, incidentally, that I'm going to share with you was in Boston City Hall. It was in the walls. It was part of their Mayor's Poetry Project last year. And it's going to be shared at, I think, one of the middle schools coming up in a few months. So I'm really excited to share this with you. So this is Love Letter for Dorchester, Love Letter for Boston. I live on a street where trees have faces, where birds bebop outside my window announcing fresh days, and the leaves whisper our names as our feet glide to and from school. I live on a street where cars breakdance to bachata and hip hop and wear flags like t-shirts so you know who said they're repping. I live on a street with rotating doors like passports to other countries, the smells and sounds, foreign speech, music to my ears. I live on a street where our son has street uncles on Fridays playing checkers by Ashmont Station, dropping knowledge about good life and manners. I live on a street that has the farmer's market every Friday, dance-offs and vegetable remixes amidst the eruption of subway passengers eager for a drink at Tavolo and Ashmont Grill. I live on a street next door to what feels like my own private restaurant, where I have my own private chef, where the bartenders know my favorite drink, and they remixed its name, The Pineapple Situation, where the patio transports you to a summer vintage backyard or a cozy campfire situation. I live on a street. I live on a street where I practice marathon runs, the curve and rise just enough for our son's 6-year-old little feet. I live on a street where I practice marathon runs often, where sirens do double dutch in the air and the curve and rise just enough for our son's 6-year-old little feet, where policemen offer ice cream and smiles. I live on a street where teenagers drag bags after school like dogs reluctant for a walk, where policemen offer ice creams and smiles, where our mailmen recite scripture like Jesus. I live on a street that has impromptu sleepovers and cookouts, wine versus beer offs on front porches, spreading love everywhere. I live on a street, now my village, now my tribe, now my muse. How am I doing for time? Thank you so much. Am I okay on time?
You're great. You got 6 more minutes, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're delighting in hearing you. I think it's going terrific. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So
Good job, Melanie. Good job.
Thank you so much. So this next
Yeah.
piece is a piece that I wrote for my partner. And the funny story about it is that literally the minute after my husband asked me to marry him, I wrote this poem. And so it's called Admission of Guilt in My Defense. I used to look for cosmetic solutions to solve questions, trying to find answers that my body already knew. I admit, I wanted to run away. In fact, I did, but it was only for 172 hours, and I came out of my coma tripping over my smile. I prepared to be amazed by something so natural. I mean, imagine literally being bathed in sunlight, up close and personal. My feelings are like sensible volcanoes, and I'm listening with my eyes and tasting your words and getting comfortable being full, not caring if I gain a few pounds in the middle, because that's where love resides. So I really love that poem. Thank you. The final piece I wanted to share with you is in my mother tongue. It's a love poem. And one of the things I love about language is you can bend it and you can do all kinds of things to it. And so in this piece, I'm sharing a love poem in Shona. I will translate it. Shona is my native tongue. So I hope you enjoy this. Mudiwa wangu usandisie, mudiwa wangu usandisiye, usandisiye, usandisiye. Mudiwa wangu, hapana zuwa rinopfuura ndisikakufungi. Uri kutanga kwangu nekupera, uri zuwa rinojekesa nyika yangu, uri nyika, uri nyenyedzi mudenga rangu, uri muchengeti wemwoyo wangu, ruwa remwoyo wangu. Ndinokuratidza seiko kudzama kwerudo rwangu, kukunyorera tsamba, kukuimbira kusvika wachema misodzi yeruzivo. Hapana mazwi anonyatsatsanangura mudikani. Usandisiya, usandisiya ndega muupenyu. Ndakakupa mwoyo wangu zuva riya riya, pasi pane watera. Saka waane mbiri, waane mbiri. My love, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of you. You are my beginning and my end. You are the sun in my personal sky. At night, you are the stars decorating the heavens. You are the captor of my heart. Flower of my heart. You make my heart flutter when I think of you. How do I convey the depth of my feelings? Should I write you a letter? Or sing sweet songs until you cry tears of surrender? They are no words, my love. Please don't leave me. Don't leave me here in this world alone. I gave you my heart that day, underneath the wattle tree. So now you have two, my love. Now you have two. Thank you, everyone.
Well, I know you can't hear all the applause, but I am kind of like really thinking it's so loud and extended applause that I'm hoping we might coax you into an encore. Have you got one more for us, U-Meleni?
I do. I think. Well, let me ask you, what kind of piece would you like to hear? Would you like a little bit more love? Would you like me to just pick anything? Give me a theme, perhaps.
Well, okay, so one of the things that occurred to me in this last piece was how it was sort of enacting what Gregory Orr was talking about in the poem of his that I read, and turn me into song, sing me awake. And I feel like you were really singing us all awake. So does that give you any clue? Is there another one that really highlights the idea of voice and singing a poem as song?
Okay, so I will, this is my favorite poem. So I'll just go right into it. It's, you know, I'm more about women empowerment, but I recognize too, I just want to say that it's important to uplift women, but I also want to uplift men because they are good men who uplift women. And so that's really, really important. And I wouldn't be the woman I am without having amazing and incredible men who were also there to uplift me. However, this piece is in particular dedicated to all the women in the space, a permission poem, if you will, for women. So here we go. Usachema, mwanasikana unesimba, umutle wakanaka usachema, 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 usachema. What gives me the strength? What gives me the strength to have my body kissed by the sun when sometimes I'm not strong enough? Sometimes I'm not strong enough to be weak before myself. Lay my heart as an offering to my future self, the woman I shall become. So don't worship me because I am not yet a queen. Perhaps that's the greatest ideal of royalty, not realizing your own strength. You see, I've been used. Thoughts frayed at the edges, but I reclaim myself in the arms of my sisters whose words glue me back together again. And though my fingers bleed, still I pray on. In my years, I have known incredible joy, but I've also known pain. My lips have been bruised. My mind has been bruised. My heart has been bruised, but I'm still here. I'm still here standing tall, beautiful, and free. So don't pity me because the width of my thighs don't measure up to your predictions of beauty. You see, I was eulogized before my birth. They named rivers after me to wash away your spit and filth. You see, you don't scare me. I am a Black Panther, can't you see? When you look at me, I will send incantations of ancestral sounds and I'll blaspheme with the rhythm of my native tongue. And don't ask me to translate. The soles of my feet. The soles of my feet are not soft like maiden hands that sleep in gloves. The soles of my feet are thick with my story, and my skin has scars. Patchwork quilt of memories, and even though the wounds have healed, still there's an aching where they tore at me. You see, I used to want to hang the skin I'm in, put it up for auction to the highest bidder so I could get rid of myself. I used to want to hang the skin I'm in, put it up for auction to the highest bidder so I could get rid of myself, but I changed my mind. I love myself. I love myself. Realizing there's only one woman worthy of being me, only one woman worthy of telling my story, so take me as I am. Take me as I am, bruised heart, broken lips, dreams unborn, womb level, they grow. And as they grow, so do we when we truly celebrate the she in we. True queens, royalty. Usa Jema, wanasikana unesimba, umutle wakanaka usachema, 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 usachema. Thank you.
Oh my. Okay. Well, we're just going to all stand up because I don't know how else we can. So let's just stand up and applaud. Oh my God. Wow. Everything in the world tonight. Stand up.
Thank you.
That was quite a performance. Wow.
Thank you so much.
It was like, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. I think I asked for the right thing. I can't believe you had that, like, boom. Boom. Thank you. Oh, what a gift you've given us tonight. Gee. Oh, lots of comments in the chat room. One I particularly liked. Let's see, D. Where is D's comment? D,
Wow,
unmute.
Melanie, the music makes me sad and it makes me want to cry. It makes me really sad.
I hear you. I hear you. There's a range of emotions that poetry can have. But I hear when I perform it,
I'm kind of in tears right now.
Well, I'm holding you in your feelings, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for telling us that, Elena. Thank you so much. D. Allen says that's real soul singing, folks. No fucking auto tune. Wow. Yeah, we got it. Okay, so that was wow. Okay, lots of comments. If you have a question, I will try. Okay, so Richard says apologies. I can't easily stand, but it was wonderful. Okay. So understood, Richard. Well, I have to say one of my favorite lines. My feelings are like sensible volcanoes.
Yes.
That is a takeaway line. I've never met a volcano face to face, but I would like to meet one that had sensible feelings.
Yes, yeah. It's funny how how the words come. I'm a self-taught poet. I didn't go to school to learn it. I just write what I feel, and
Thank goodness for us. Thank
and
goodness.
sometimes words are poured in my head, and I was like, okay, maybe this sounds interesting. We'll see what happens. And that particular line, I remember writing that. I was like, huh, sensible volcanoes. Well, because of course volcanoes are not sensible. And when in that particular moment, when my husband was like, yeah, do you want to get married? And the reason why I say sensible volcanoes is like, it came out of left field. Like I was not, expecting it. And so I was like, this is totally unexpected. I imagine a volcanic eruption would be like this, like, oh, so.
Well, I mean, but, and it seems to really connect, U-Meleni, with this idea of contradictions, So the sensibility and the volcano, I mean, to me, this is like your paradigm for like contradiction, and so that's just wonderful. I love the way, I know others here do too, obviously, the way you use language. So let's, okay. So Hector Rodriguez is asking, how did you manage and incorporate the two world identities?
That's a great question. Thank you so much, Hector. Well, I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. I was just in the continent. I was in Nigeria, and because my husband's Nigerian, and so it's always interesting when I go back home, because I'm Pan-Africanist in my view, and so whenever I'm home, I'm like, yes, these are my people, and it resonates. And then I come back to Boston or the US, and I'm like, I think these are also my people. But sometimes I don't feel like they recognize me as their person, if that makes sense. Sometimes I feel they do, sometimes I don't. So I don't know. It's a work in progress. But I like to think that I refer to myself as a global citizen. I feel like I belong everywhere, and my love is wide, of culture. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question.
And brings me to, when you talk about that love, I love how you talked about romantic love, and you also talked about this love for your neighborhood. I mean, you described it, you really described it, you created it, you made it come alive for me, the listener, for us, the listeners. And stunning sense of how you made community come so wonderfully alive there. That's where you're from. So you're from a number of different places, but you spent which years of your life, or you've spent what years of your life in Dorchester?
So I would say I probably spent the last maybe like 10 plus years in Dorchester specifically. So I am literally I split my life in half. I grew up the formative years in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. And then I came to America to go to university and to work, etc. So I was formed in the continent and then sort of bloomed, if you will, in America, which is interesting given that I was born here and then I was kind of, grew up there. But I've been in Massachusetts, which is where I was born, in Leominster, for half my life. So I am as as from Massachusetts as I am from Zimbabwe, if you will.
Thank you. And so to mention the marathon, the Boston Marathon is Monday, and
yes.
I'm sure you know that. But and those who are in the Massachusetts, maybe a lot of you here know that, but it's very close and relevant. And you've run how many Boston marathons?
Well, I've only run Boston Marathon once, actually. I ran it with my husband in 2012, which, if any of you are partnered here, it's the best form of therapy, couples therapy, running the Boston Marathon in 92-degree weather. But no, it was so much fun. So I ran the Boston Marathon. I did the Chicago, but I've run a handful of half marathons. In fact, my husband and I and our son, who is now 11, we have run probably maybe over 60 plus races together. So that's 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, you name it. We enjoy running. And we also do the Dot Day 5K. If any of you are Dorchester folks who know the Dot Day Parade, we run that race as well.
So, I'm going to get to a question. There was one from Candace, but I just before we do, because you mentioned your son.
Yes.
You said that when you read the poem to, that gives permission about women,
Yes.
you said you want to uplift women, but you also want to uplift men. And I was really thinking about what you told me about your son, who is also expressing himself through writing.
Yes.
And I wondered if you just wanted to mention him and the idea of, I imagine you were thinking about that as a parent too, uplifting men. You have only the one, you have one son. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it is my responsibility, as a parent to really ensure that my son gets to see me live my life fully. And a lot of times, sometimes parents separate their kids from what they do. And I was raised in a culture where we were part of what our parents do. So our parents would take us everywhere. And so we kind of have that philosophy the way raising our son. And so since he was like 2, he's been, well, actually, no, even before he was 2, like he was performing with me. Like I used to wear him, as a baby, and I would perform. So he's been literally performing with me since he was a baby. And it was my joy when he was published. He was published in Right on the Dot. And I don't have the volume somewhere. I would show you. But it's a volume of poetry in Dorchester, and he was the youngest and the only kid who was published. And what was lovely about it is that I asked him, I said, look, I know that you write poetry. Would it be okay if we maybe submitted your poems? And he was like, okay, I guess you can. And so he sent it out, and when he got the letter that said, yes, we'll include you, he wept. He was so overcome with the fact that people were moved by his words. And I think, to me, there's no greater gift than sort of paying it forward and making sure there's a pathway for my son, because things weren't so easy for me as an artist. I knew I was a poet for very young, and I wasn't necessarily given that love and assurance because of that. So yeah, it's very important.
Oh, beautiful. Maybe he wants to also submit to the journal, wink, wink, Jen.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
So that we could all see his writing in the journal. Let's get to Candace's question. I have so many questions, but I don't want to hog. Curious about your creative process. Do you speak and write simultaneously to see how the words and phrases go together, or some other process?
That's a great question. I have a sort of a convoluted, sometimes, honestly, I always take a journal with me wherever I go. So I'm always sketching, pieces of conversation, things that I hear, words that just kind of grab me. I don't have any sort of set and fast rule. I will say, though, that a lot of my poems I hear as songs first. So as melodies, I was like, oh, that's a really cool melody. And then the melody becomes words. And then I'm like, okay. And then I do often sometimes, kind of practice certain phrases to my poor family. Like, hey, what about this? I'll say to my husband, this is a great word, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, okay. He's not a poet, but he's a poet appreciator. So he's like, okay, whatever you say. But yeah, so I kind of, it's very organic. It's not organized, but I will say that I journal every day. So I'm always writing my thoughts and my feelings down, and sometimes they end up as poems. And sometimes conversations with people, sometimes experiences like I'm having right now will elicit some poems and some phrases. So I'm just inspired by life and just the different things that happen.
Thank you. I want to ask one or two more questions. How did you know you could write? However you think what that means.
How did I know? I guess I didn't. I still don't really. I do it, and then and it's I produce it, and then I share it, and so far people haven't thrown stuff at me. So I guess that's a good sign. But granted, I have also gotten lots and lots of rejections as writers do. So I think I've always known that I was a writer. I've always been fascinated with words. In fact, this weekend we were walking around the neighborhood, and I found a woman was selling Nancy Drew books. I don't know if any of you know Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys, but I used to read those as a kid. And so to go to like a yard sale and find 10 of them, I was like, are you kidding me? So I bought them all, of course. And to reminisce, But I think I've always known that I was different, if you will, and I've always been. I think my whole life has been constantly fighting to be seen as an artist, particularly when I was in Zimbabwe growing up. There wasn't room for that to be a career path. Something on the side, but not like you grow up and you be an artist. Like that's just not something I was allowed to do or to dream. So I ran away and I came here to America and decided to follow it, so to speak, here. But I always knew. But in terms of whether I should share it with the world, I would say my friends signed me up on an open mic many years ago. It was at Wally's Jazz Cafe for a Black History poetry event. Unbeknownst to me, I heard my name and I was like, wait, what? And so I went to read at open mic and people responded. And it never occurred to me that anyone would want to hear my words. And I've been performing ever since. And
Wow.
like 20 something years ago.
Wow, wonderful. Wow, what a story. Well, that sort of connects with my sort of partner question with that, which is, how did you know you could perform? And I wonder about that, because it sounds like the passion for performance, I mean, this is in you, obviously, and the talent for it, obviously, as well, too. Where did that come from? Was that early? Were you able to get, validation or attention, or did you perform?
I did. I mean, I performed a lot. You might be hearing thunder. We are going to have, we may be having some kind of
Excellent.
tornado situation happening as we speak in Louisiana. But
Some added drama for this wonderful night.
exactly.
Yeah, go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah, but I would say that growing up, I went to really great schools that had drama programs, and I was in the choir, and so I grew up being very theatrical, being in pantomimes and plays and things of that nature. So that certainly was present in my life in Zimbabwe. Um, but in terms of really honing in sort of my performance, I would say it would be in college. I was in the jazz band when I was at UMass for 3 years. So I really got to learn about, my vocal chops, as it were, as it relates to jazz. And then I'd spend a lot of time at Wally's Jazz Cafe learning from the greats, the performers, the musicians, like how to work with a band, how to lead a band, how to scat, that sort of thing. And then go to a lot of performances and also be in community theater, which ended up me doing work in film as an actress. So I guess I've always surrounded myself with different avenues.
Um, so talented, involved in so many different pursuits. I think my last question would have to do with what is your most burning desire as an artist right now? Because it's clear that you can enact your artistry in so many different avenues. I'm just curious about what burning desire you might have right now.
Oh, that's a loaded question. Okay, well, since I like to just dream big, okay, I'm dreaming big here. So I wrote a book that's still in development called Love in Reverse, and it's a sort of a memoir about sort of my unconventional love story, snippets of which I shared with you. And my goal is to have it. I want it to be a movie at some point, starring. Wait for it. Idris Elba is going to star. Idris Elba is going to star as my husband, and I'm going to be me, of course, because. But
why not? Right.
Right. But yeah, so that's one thing I'd like to do. But the other is I want to record music. I'm also a vocalist. I haven't done music in a while, and I feel like I want to do some music. I am particularly interested in. I don't know if any of you know Brenda Fassie. She was a South African singer, and I love her. I am inspired by her, and she was very much a part of my growing up. I was in school in South Africa during apartheid, and she was just very influential. She was rebel. She was incredible, and I really want to do some kind of performance using her music. So those are some of the ideas that I'd like to do.
Mm. Oh my goodness. Wow. You've given us so much to experience and think about as we move into the open mic, U-Meleni. It's like, I don't know, just I feel like we've had so much richness here. It's going to take a little while to digest it all.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, thank you so much for all the questions. I know that there's so much that we could cover, but please do, reach out to me and let me know. I'd like to continue conversations with all of you. Let me know too how folks are doing. You can catch me. I know they're putting in the links of how to find me.
yes, and through your website, I imagine there's a way for them to contact you through your.
Absolutely. Yes, there is.
And we hope you'll buy Soul Songs, the beautiful, beautiful book that that U-Meleni was reading from, and attend her performances when and where you can. Do you have a mailing list?
I do. You can sign up on my website. There will also be an audiobook coming soon because folks have been asking for that. So I finished recording it, so it'll take a little while, but it's on its way. So I think there's something special when people bring it to life, because my work is different when it's read by itself versus when it's
Yes.
performed. At least that's what I'm told.
Oh, yes, I'm sure. Wow. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now. We will post this on Journal of Expressive Writing YouTube, and you will stay, I hope, and maybe have a chance to read the chat that you haven't had a chance to read, and people can continue to tell you what they loved about your reading and your discussion in the chat room. And we'll give you a chance to say goodbye at the very end. U-Meleni, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.